Hi everyone, my name is Rufaro and welcome to another episode of She Money Hacks. So, uh, today I'm going to be going over if a credit union is worth your time. So, okay, for those of you who don't know, there's a difference between a credit union and a bank, and I'm going to go over that in this video. So my experience with a credit union has been both good and bad, and I'm going to say a little story about why my experience with it has been bad and also good, and then I'll go over if it's actually worth your time, and then of course the advantages and disadvantages of having a credit union, then also bank or not regular bank. So this was about 2 years ago, I think, or 2.5 years ago. And I no, this was 3 years ago. So I had finally decided to open a bank account. And the bank that was closest to my campus, closest to my school, was a credit union. And so I walked across the road to the bank, the credit union, and created an account. It was very easy. I just needed my passport, or you need your ID. I think I needed proof I was a student or something like that, so I could get the benefits. So I could get, I think, high interest rates and no minimum fee in my account or something like that. I don't quite remember. And so I created it. It was very easy to create actually. But it was in person. I would think with a lot of credit unions you have to be in person, but that might differ. You'd have to look at that. So I had gone for holiday. I went to Zimbabwe, went to see my family, and my bank arrived. But what happened was I was not there to open it. And so after it had arrived, it actually arrived to the wrong address. So I didn't even know my card had arrived in the mail, and the days had ranked up. And then it was just a lot. Something else had happened until they had blocked my account. So they had blocked it because when I went to ask them, they said, "Oh, they thought my bank account was being used by someone else. Oh, like it was a fraudulent account. That's what they thought." So it was closed, and then I had to reopen, reapply, which took about 3 more months. And I didn't have my bank account, and I deposited money in there, and then my money, I didn't have any of that. So that was the first problem I had with them. The second problem I had with them as well was when I actually was doing my internship. I was in New York. My school was all the way in Louisiana, where the branch for my credit union was. And actually, someone was using my money, so I saw a charge on my account for Amazon, which I hadn't even made. That I didn't have that membership. I hadn't bought that stuff, and I blocked my card. And the thing is, I blocked it, but they would only let me open it again in person. So I had to withdraw cash and just cancel that account until I'd gone back to open it, which I found very inconvenient because I remember there's a time I went to a store. I wanted to get a smoothie, and they were only taking cards, and I had their cash, so I had to walk out looking, a little stupid. So that also is another disadvantage. When things like this happen, it's very inconveniencing. Then the third story that's really frustrating about credit unions is one of my really good friends went shopping. I think she went to buy cupcakes, and then she forgot her debit card in her bag, and she threw the bag in the trash with her card. So what she didn't know, so she thought her card had been stolen, and this is over the weekend, and the credit union is closed. The one we had an account with was closed during the weekend. She had to wait the whole weekend until she could call them and cancel it. This whole time we were just praying that no one had a card until she remembered that she probably threw it in the trash. So that's just another thing that can inconvenience you is in situations like that, they have hours. They probably open at 9 and close at 5, Monday to Friday. If on the weekend something happens, that's it. It's on you. So there Of course, with everything, there's the good and the bad. The bad is really these stories that I've experienced, that people I know have experienced, and also the technology is also really bad with a lot of them. I remember trying to open an online account with the credit union because um, they had just set up the the platform online, and each time I had to log into it, I had to do those like tests where it's like, oh, which one is the traffic light. Each time I was logging in, and then there was like another step, and each time it would log me out. It was just very irritating and very inconvenient. um yeah. Okay, I'm not scaring you out of opening with the credit union. I'm just telling you what I experienced, so it might come across as really raw and rough. So yeah. But then the oh, and another thing as well, with certain credit unions, they don't have ATMs in a lot of places. So for instance, also with your checks, you know how you can take a picture of your check and it deposits. With some credit unions, you can't do that. You have to physically go drop off the check. If they're open, if they're not open, gotta wait till the week starts. So I will then move on to the benefits of actually having a credit union. um, yeah. So one of the things I remember one of my mentor told me was, always you have your regular bank accounts, be it if you have an account with Chase or Bank of America, Wells Fargo, whichever one it is, but always open another one with the credit union, one or two. Why? Because as I mentioned, how just mentioned how sometimes they're in places that are not convenient to go to, their services are slow. So you could have your emergency money in a credit union, your savings for an emergency in there, meaning that you're not going to touch that money. So the fact that credit union is at a place that's so inconvenient to go to, if anything happens, trying to get that money is just a hassle. You know that it stays there and it's safe for worst comes to shove, and you need that money, so it's safe. That's one reason. Another reason as well is a lot of credit unions are very community based. So sometimes the people who own that branch are someone who might actually be in that community. So you are ultimately helping your community, the people who work, and that they know each other. I remember when I used to go to my credit union, it was great. I mean, they knew my name, I knew their names. But sometimes in the line, if I was in a rush, they could have a whole conversation with someone in front of me for several minutes, go on, ask about the grandbabies, the babies, the aunt, the this. So yeah, that's the second reason. The third reason as well with a credit union is the interest rates are relatively higher than regular banks in the savings account. I mean, of course, they're not going to be extremely high, but on average, they are a little bit higher. But I wouldn't bank on, oh, let me save all my money there because I want to see it grow, because the rate is really low. It's not worth it. The fourth thing I would say about credit unions as well, which I think is a really, really, really big plus, is that, as I mentioned, because they're very big on community, you go there, they know your name. When you call them, they can recognize your voice, literally. I know mine could also, they could recognize my voice. Um, when you have a community-based relation, when you have a relationship with the person at the bank, sometimes it's much easier for them to give you a loan. Unlike with regular banks, you are just a number, you are just a digit in their system. At a credit union, you're a person, they know you, they know your family. So it might be easier for them to give you a loan, especially if your credit score is not that high. With these other big banks, you have to meet a certain threshold. Your credit score might have to be, who knows, maybe 700, 710. I don't, it depends. But with credit unions, they might be more lenient on that. They might be willing to give you a loan even if your score is not that high. So yeah, those are some of the good and bads of credit unions. And yeah, actually that's one of the that's actually why I would say, is it worth your time? So I guess with this information you can figure out if a credit union is really worth your time. Again, I would advise do not put all of your money in a credit union, because when you want to use it, as I mentioned, it can be extremely inconvenient for you when you need your money if it's for day-to-day things. But for me, I would say for you, consider opening another account with the credit union for the reasons that I have mentioned. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and let me know in the comment section if you've actually ever opened with the credit union before, if this video has changed your opinion. And I'm actually very curious to hear some of your stories on if you've had any experiences with credit unions, because I tell you, my experience, as I mentioned earlier, it's been like this, and for my friends as well. So I'm actually very curious to hear your stories on credit unions. So yeah, bye.